Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to jump into another deep dive. This time we're tackling 30 Ways to Make Money Online by Kazi Bektoligin.
Ah, the ever-alluring quest for online riches.
Right. I mean, who hasn't dreamed of ditching the 9 to 5 and making bank from their laptop?
It's a pretty seductive idea, but let's be real, this book is from September 2020.
Yeah, that's true. The online world moves fast.
So we got to keep that in mind. What works today might be, well, ancient history tomorrow.
Totally. But I think some of the core principles are still relevant. Like, one thing Toligin emphasizes is personalization, finding what works for you.
Yeah, cookie-cutter solutions rarely work in the online world. What might be a gold mine for one person could be a total flop for another.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot where your skills, interests, and, let's be honest, time commitment all line up.
It's like imagine trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Not going to work.
Perfect analogy. So let's ditch the get-rich-quick fantasies and dive into some of the actual methods Toligin outlines. He covers a ton, from selling your old stuff online to things like Amazon FBA and drop shipping. Where do you want to start?
Well, I think it's smart to begin with those low barrier to entry ideas, things anyone can try, regardless of experience or tech skills.
Yeah. Like, have you ever tried selling things you no longer need online? Clothes, electronics, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, all the time. It's a great way to dip your toes into e-commerce without, breaking the bank.
Exactly. And platforms like eBay and Etsy make it surprisingly easy.
Super user-friendly. Plus, you get that instant gratification of decluttering and making a little cash on the side.
Definitely a win-win. But let's say someone's looking to scale things up. What are some of the potentially more lucrative methods Toligin covers?
Well, he talks about Amazon FBA. That's fulfillment by Amazon.
Right, where you basically leverage Amazon's massive infrastructure to sell your products.
Exactly. They handle storage, sales, shipping the whole 9 yards. It's like having a personal fulfillment army at your disposal.
Sounds pretty powerful. But I imagine there's more to it than just listing a product and watching the money roll in, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's not passive income by any stretch.
Right.
You've got to source products, manage inventory, and stay on top of Amazon's ever-changing policies, which can be a real headache.
Yeah, I've heard horror stories about sellers getting their accounts suspended for seemingly minor infractions.
It's a wild world out there.
It is. But for those who can navigate the complexities, it seems like FBA can be quite profitable. Toligin mentions that some sellers are making 6 or even 7 figures a year.
Yeah, those are the outliers, though, the ones who've really cracked the code.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
There's always a bit of survivorship bias, right?
Right.
We only hear about the success stories.
Exactly. But even for the average seller, FBA can be a solid income stream, especially if you find the right niche and build a strong brand.
Okay, so there's definitely a learning curve with FBA. But what about folks who dream of earning money in their sleep? Toligin also talks about things like blogging, YouTube, and creating ebooks as potential sources of passive income.
Ah, yes, the allure of passive income. Who wouldn't want to make money while they sleep?
Right. But I think the word passive can be misleading.
Yeah, it definitely requires effort up front. It's more like planting a seed and nurturing it over time.
Right. You're creating something valuable, building an audience, establishing your authority. That takes time and consistent effort.
Absolutely. And even when the income starts flowing in, it's not completely hands-off. You still need to maintain your blog or YouTube channel, keep creating content, engage with your audience.
Right. It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Definitely not. But the potential for long-term rewards is there. It's like building an asset that can generate income for years to come.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so we've talked about FBA and passive income. Toligin also mentions drop shipping, which seems to be all the rage these days.
Yeah.
What's your take on that model?
Dropshipping can be lucrative, but it's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's essentially about connecting buyers and suppliers without holding any inventory yourself.
Wait, so you're selling products that you don't even own?
Exactly. You create an online store, market the products, and when someone places an order, you forward it to your supplier who ships it directly to the customer.
Interesting. So your profit comes from the difference between your retail price and the supplier's wholesale price.
Yep. But it's not all sunshine and roses. You're reliant on your suppliers for product quality and shipping times, which can be a major headache.
Yeah, I can see how that could be a problem, especially if you're working with overseas suppliers.
And competition is fierce. You need to find a niche, build a brand, and market the heck out of your store.
Tolligen actually says that drop shipping can require a starting investment of around $2,000. And even then, there's no guarantee of success.
Yeah, it's a gamble for sure. But for those who are willing to put in the work and learn the ropes, dropshipping can be a viable way to build an online business.
Okay, so we've covered some of the more popular methods. But I think it's important to acknowledge that not all of Tolligen's suggestions are created equal. There are some that we might want to approach with a bit more caution.
Oh yeah, for sure. He mentions things like online surveys and microtask platforms as ways to make extra cash.
I've seen those ads everywhere. Make money in your spare time. But they seem a little too good to be true.
Well, they can be legitimate, but the pay is often ridiculously low. You're basically trading your time for pennies.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a sustainable income strategy.
Definitely not. It's more like pocket change than a real income. And then there are the methods that are just plain risky.
Like what?
Well, he mentions online trading and gambling. While those can be exciting and potentially lucrative, they're also incredibly high risk,
Yeah, I definitely put those in the proceed with extreme caution category.
especially for beginners. It's like playing with fire. You could get burned.
Good analogy. Tolligen even emphasizes that online trading requires significant knowledge and a willingness to accept potential losses. It's not for the faint of heart.
Definitely not.
Okay, so we've talked about methods that might require a bit of caution, but I think it's important to balance that with Tolligen's overall message of empowerment. He really believes that anyone with a laptop and an internet connection can create an online income stream.
I think what's important is that he emphasizes aligning those online ventures with personal values and ethics.
Yeah, he talks about building a business that feels good and aligns with your beliefs.
It's not just about making money.
Right. It's about doing it in a way that you can be proud of.
Exactly. Ethical entrepreneurship is key, and I think it's something a lot of people are looking for in today's world.
Like voting with your wallet, right?
Mm.
Choosing to support businesses that align with your values.
Absolutely. But speaking of choices, Tolligen offers a lot of them in this book.
He does. How does he suggest navigating all these different methods and finding the ones that are the right fit?
Well, he recommends shortlisting a handful of methods that resonate with you and then really diving deep into those. It's about resisting the temptation to jump from one shiny object to the next.
So focus and consistency are key.
Absolutely. And he cautions against starting with something overly complex like dropshipping, unless you're really prepared for that steep learning curve.
Makes sense. It's like he says in the book, patience and persistence are more valuable than chasing quick wins.
Right. It's about playing the long game, building a sustainable online business, not just trying to make a quick buck.
And that's a really important point. Now, I'm curious, what are some of the less conventional methods that Tolligen highlights? He talks about making money by playing online games, creating travel guides, even offering Airbnb experiences. Those sound pretty intriguing.
I think those examples highlight the fact that there are so many unconventional ways to monetize your interests and skills online.
Yeah, like with the travel guide idea, if you're passionate about travel and have a knack for writing or photography, why not create a comprehensive guide to your favorite destination?
Exactly. You could sell it as an ebook, offer it as a downloadable PDF on your website, or even create a series of videos documenting your adventures.
It's like turning your passion into a product.
Yeah.
And what about making money from gaming? I know that's a huge industry, but I never really thought about it as a potential income source.
It's definitely a niche market, but there are ways to monetize gaming skills. Some gamers make money through streaming platforms like Twitch, where they broadcast their gameplay and earn revenue through subscriptions and donations.
Oh, that's interesting. Like they're basically entertaining people by playing video games.
Exactly. Others create and sell in-game items or offer coaching services to help other players improve their skills.
Wow, it's like a whole hidden economy built around online gaming.
It really is. And then there are the Airbnb experiences. That's another interesting one.
Yeah, how does that work?
Well, it's a way for locals to offer unique experiences to travelers, going beyond just providing accommodation. You could lead a walking tour of your city, host a cooking class featuring local cuisine, or even teach a craft workshop.
So it's about leveraging your local knowledge and skills to create a memorable experience for travelers.
Exactly. And it's a fun and rewarding way to earn some income, especially if you enjoy interacting with people from different cultures.
I love that. Okay, so we've explored a lot of different methods, from the practical to the unconventional, but I think it's important to address the elephant in the room, right?
The scams.
Yeah, the internet is full of scams and get-rich-quick schemes. How does Tolligen advise readers to avoid those pitfalls?
He stresses the importance of critical thinking and thorough research. It's about being skeptical of any opportunity that sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, and those promises of unrealistic returns.
Exactly. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Right. So what are some red flags that people should look out for?
Well, any opportunity that requires a large upfront investment without a clear explanation of how the business model works is a major red flag.
Yeah, that screams scam to me.
Right.
Okay, anything else?
Be wary of testimonials that sound too hyped up or scripted.
Yeah, those I made $1 million in a month kind of stories.
Exactly. And be careful about giving out your personal information or financial details to anyone you don't trust.
That's good advice for life in general, not just online business.
For sure.
Okay, so be skeptical, do your research, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
And trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is.
I like that. So Tolajin talks about a lot of specific methods for making money online. But I think what's really valuable is the broader mindset he encourages. It's about being resourceful, creative, and persistent.
It's about being an entrepreneur, whether you're selling handmade crafts on Etsy or building a multi-million-dollar drop-shipping empire.
Exactly. And it's about embracing the journey, the ups, the downs, the challenges, the wins.
It's all a part of the process.
Right. And it's important to remember that even the most successful entrepreneurs have faced setbacks and failures along the way.
It's how you learn and grow from those experiences that ultimately determines your success.
So resilience is key.
Absolutely. It's about picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and trying again. And speaking of trying again, Tolajin also touches on a few methods that might not be as flashy or exciting, but can provide a steady stream of income.
Like what?
Well, he talks about becoming a transcriber, a virtual assistant, even a proofreader.
Those are all valuable services that are in high demand.
They are, and they offer a great way to leverage existing skills.
Right. Whether it's typing speed, organizational prowess, or a keen eye for detail. They might not be the most glamorous gigs, but they can provide a reliable income stream, especially as you build experience and reputation.
And they often come with the added benefit of flexibility. You can work from anywhere with an internet connection.
Yeah, that's a huge perk.
It is. And they can be great stepping stones to other online ventures. For example, if you start as a virtual assistant, you might discover a passion for social media management and transition into a specialized role in that area.
So there's a certain appeal to those less heralded methods as well. Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier. Staying relevant in a constantly evolving online landscape. The methods that were popular in 2020 might not be as effective today, and new opportunities are constantly emerging.
The digital world never sleeps, that's for sure.
So how does Tolajin advise readers to stay ahead of the curve?
He emphasizes the importance of continuous learning and adaptation. It's about staying informed about the latest trends, experimenting with new platforms, and being willing to adjust your strategies as needed.
It's like that old saying, the only constant is change. And in the online world, that's especially true.
Absolutely. So it's not just about learning a particular skill or mastering a specific method. It's about developing a growth mindset and being adaptable.
It's about being a lifelong learner, always curious, always seeking new knowledge and ways to improve. I love that.
It's the only way to survive and thrive in the ever-changing world of online business. And I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have. We've explored specific money-making methods, discussed broader principles of online entrepreneurship, and even touched on the importance of ethical considerations and staying relevant in a rapidly changing digital landscape.
We've certainly delved deep into the world of making money online.
We have. And remember, this is just part one of our deep dive into Kazibek Tolajin's 30 ways to make money online. We've got a lot more to explore, so stay tuned for parts 2 and 3. And in the meantime, don't be afraid to start experimenting. Pick one method that intrigues you and take a small step towards making it happen.
You never know where it might lead.
Okay, so we left off talking about staying relevant in the online world. It's funny, we've been talking about making money online, but Tolajin's book really got me thinking about the idea of wealth in a broader sense.
That's interesting. What do you mean?
Well, what's the point of having all the money in the world if you're not happy or fulfilled?
I see what you're getting at. It's not just about financial abundance, is it?
Exactly. Tolajin actually touches on this towards the end of the book.
He does. He emphasizes aligning your online endeavors with your overall life goals and values.
Right. It's not just about making a living. It's about making a life.
And creating a life that you actually enjoy, not just a business that makes money.
Totally. He calls it lifestyle design.
Yeah, that's it. It's about designing a life that you love, not just grinding away at a job you hate.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, think about it. A lot of people are drawn to online business because of the freedom and flexibility it offers.
Right. It's about being your own boss, setting your own hours, and working from wherever you want.
But it's more than just that. It's about creating a life that aligns with your values and your aspirations.
I think that's something a lot of people overlook, They get so caught up in the hustle that they forget about the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's easy to fall into that trap.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to keep that in mind as you're exploring these different methods for making money online. How do they fit into the bigger picture of your life? What kind of lifestyle do you want to create?
Those are great questions to ask yourself. What are your priorities? What are your non-negotiables?
Exactly. What brings you joy and fulfillment? Because ultimately, success isn't just about the numbers in your bank account. It's about living a life that's meaningful and aligned with your values.
Well said. I think that's a really important point.
Okay, so back to Tolijan's book. One thing that really stood out to me was his emphasis on personalization, finding the methods that are the right fit for you. He actually recommends creating a short list of options that resonate with you and then really diving deep into those.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about resisting the temptation to jump from one shiny object to the next, chasing the latest trend.
Right. It's about focus and consistency. And he cautions against starting with something overly complex like drop shipping, unless you're really prepared for that steep learning curve.
It's like trying to run a marathon before you've even learned how to walk.
Perfect analogy. So start small, build momentum, and don't be afraid to experiment.
And remember, success rarely happens overnight.
Exactly. Toljan says it takes time, effort, and a willingness to adapt and learn along the way.
He's right. It's about embracing the journey, not just focusing on the destination.
I love that. Now, speaking of journeys, Tolijan talks about some pretty unconventional ways to make money online. He mentions playing online games, creating travel guides, even offering Airbnb experiences.
Those are definitely some outside-the-box ideas.
I know, right? But I think they highlight the fact that there are so many different ways to monetize your interests and skills online.
It's really about thinking creatively and finding those niche opportunities that might not be obvious at first glance.
Right. Like with the travel guide idea.
Right.
If you're passionate about travel and you have a knack for writing or photography, why not create a comprehensive guide to your favorite destination?
Exactly. You could sell it as an ebook, offer it as a downloadable PDF on your website, or even create a series of videos documenting your adventures.
It's like turning your passion into a product.
And a source of income.
Exactly. And then there's the whole world of online gaming. I know it's a huge industry, but I never really thought about it as a potential income source.
It's definitely a niche market, but there are ways to monetize gaming skills. Some gamers make money through streaming platforms like Twitch, where they basically broadcast their gameplay and earn revenue through subscriptions and donations.
Oh, that's interesting. It's like they're professional gamers.
In a way, they are. Others create and sell in-game items or offer coaching services to help other players improve their skills.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's like a whole hidden economy built around online gaming. And then there are the Airbnb experiences. What are your thoughts on those?
Well, it's a great way for locals to offer unique experiences to travelers, going beyond just providing accommodations. You could lead a walking tour of your city, host a cooking class featuring local cuisine, or even teach a craft workshop.
That sounds like so much fun.
It can be. And it's a great way to earn some extra income while sharing your passion with others.
Okay, so we've explored a lot of different methods, from the practical to the more ambitious, and we've emphasized the importance of personalization, persistence, and ethical entrepreneurship. But I think it's important to remember that there's no magic bullet or shortcut to success.
Absolutely. Building a sustainable online business takes time, effort, and often a bit of trial and error.
Tolijan actually says that it's about embracing the journey with all its ups and downs.
He's right. It's about celebrating the wins, learning from the setbacks, and never giving up on your dreams.
And speaking of dreams, I think it's important to circle back to that idea of lifestyle design that we talked about earlier.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought that up again.
Because ultimately, success is about more than just making money.
It's about creating a life that you love.
Exactly. A life that's filled with purpose, passion, and meaning. So as you're exploring these different methods for making money online, don't just focus on the dollars and cents.
Think about the bigger picture. What kind of life do you want to create?
What kind of impact do you want to make on the world?
Because the truth is, you have the power to create a life that is both financially abundant and deeply fulfilling.
And I think that's a powerful message to leave our listeners with. Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to touch on one final point that Tolagen emphasizes: the importance of staying relevant in a constantly evolving online landscape. The methods that were popular in 2020 might not be as effective today, and new opportunities are constantly emerging.
The internet moves at the speed of light. What's hot today might be old news tomorrow.
Exactly. So how do we stay ahead of the curve? How do we ensure that our skills and knowledge remain relevant in this rapidly changing digital world?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Well, Tolagen stresses the importance of continuous learning and adaptation.
So we need to be lifelong learners.
Absolutely. We need to stay informed about the latest trends, experiment with new platforms, and be willing to adjust our strategies as needed.
So it's not enough to just learn a particular skill or master a specific method.
Right. We need to develop a growth mindset and embrace the idea that learning is a continuous process.
It's about being curious, staying open to new ideas, and always seeking ways to improve.
Well said. I think that's the key to success in any field, but especially in the online world where things are constantly changing.
I completely agree. Now, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
We have. We've explored the idea of lifestyle design, talked about some unconventional ways to make money online, and emphasized the importance of staying relevant in a rapidly evolving digital world.
We've also touched on the importance of mindset, persistence, and ethical entrepreneurship. So stay tuned for part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll explore some final thoughts and takeaways from Tolagen's book. And in the meantime, keep those entrepreneurial wheels turning.
So we've talked about a lot, but I want to touch on something else Tolagen brings up. It's something about wealth that struck me as interesting.
What's that?
You know how he talks about aligning online ventures with, like, life goals and values?
Yeah, he's big on that. Well, it made me think, what's the point of all this online money if you're not happy in life?
Ah, I see. Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle.
Exactly. Like, what good is a fat bank account if the rest is, I don't know, out of whack?
Right, Tolagen calls it lifestyle design, right?
He does, yeah.
It's not just about the business, it's the whole picture.
Totally. It's like, what kind of life do you want? Then build the work around that.
Makes sense. A lot of folks are drawn to online stuff for the freedom, right?
Exactly. But it's got to be more than escaping a cubicle, you know?
Definitely. It's got to be fulfilling, too.
So, thinking about these money methods, it can't just be about the cash.
Right. It's got to fit into the life you're aiming for.
What makes you happy, what matters, that kind of thing.
It's like, what are your non-negotiables? What won't you compromise on?
Exactly. Because success isn't just a dollar amount. It's how you feel about your life.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So, as we wrap up this whole deep dive,
Yeah.
that's what I want to leave folks with.
It's not just the hustle, but what the hustle gets you.
Yeah, don't just chase money. Chase the life you want to be living.
Use these online things as tools, not the end goal in themselves.
That's it. It's been great chatting with you about all this.
Same here. Always fun to dive deep into these topics.
So to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Tolagen's book gave us tons to think about. Hopefully you got some ideas cooking too.
And remember, it's not about finding the one right answer. It's about what works for you.
Exactly. So keep learning, keep experimenting, and most importantly, build the online life that makes you happy.
Until next time, happy hustling and happy living, everyone.